I want to introduce you stage designer and space designer, architect, a person who changed a lot of spaces into theater places. Of course, he is well known all over the world because of his work with Peter Brook, but also he had projects with very big architects like Frank Gehry. I don't want to tell you more, it's easy to check on internet. And I hope that you will be very interested in his conference. Thank you.
This is technology.
Yeah.
So, I'm not using technology.
Can we ask a little bit light on person, because we want to see.
Ne puteți da un pic de lumină aici?
We live like this. Okay? You can see, no?
It's to you.
But you
Il aimerait vous voir vous, c'est ça.
That's you have to see. I'm not an actor. Watch the screen. Okay, so theater is moving every day, changing, and if you, I'm not going to use a microphone, but if you don't listen, you come closer. That's your problem, not mine. So, to speak about scenography, we have to come back to the origin of the idea of the scenography. This is why I ask basic questions about, you must go to the last row, then you can leave before the end. Excuse me, can you come here? On the presentation, I'm speaking about to organize the public, so it's good to start here. You know, in this society, people don't like to be together. They need a space, because they spend the whole day with their phone, so the smell of a human being is difficult. So, let's try to turn off the light here first. Take it off. Okay, thank you. Then I can see you, which is the most important. Okay, let's start. Can you stop any technology? We don't need. So, the basic question for the theater are here. We need an idea, we need an idea to do theater, because, can you turn this off too? Thank you. You know who creates that spot? The light designer of Ingrid Bergman. I work with him. That's good for the eyes of the actors. But if you want to film something, film this. It's difficult, huh? Okay, so in our society, we have theater which is more or less spread everywhere around the world. This is something completely new. And another thing is completely new. From middle of last century, we play mostly everything who exists, from the Greek tragedy until today, which is also very new, because in the past, most of the theater people play the contemporary writers, and they do some extract of a Greek tragedy or Shakespeare, but not so much. Today, from Sophocles until the writer of today are on the stage. So this is, for the scenography, a big question, as we have many different kind of theater. In a festival, for instance, in Europe, they use a Greek theater or Roman theater in France, where we have a mix between contemporary text in a theater who have 2,500 years, or the opposite. So what to do? There is a play of Shakespeare done in a modern theater without any set. So there is not a conflict, but there is not a continuity between the architecture, the audience, and the people who are on the stage. So the basic things we need are this. We need costume, we need light, absolutely, to see. And the costume are necessary. Even if you play nude, you choose to do that. So the costume, the text, and the light tell more or less the whole story. With the costume, we know when and where. So let's see if it works. Yeah. So we need public and the actors at same. That's unique in art. A painter doesn't need audience, a sculptor doesn't need audience, a musician, a composer doesn't need audience. The theater do not exist as an art without audience. So this is the natural way for people to meet. Most of the time, the theater have choose this one. Which is that. That's a basic relationship we can have in a theater. Or this one. So that's interesting because the costume say more or less when and where, but the column is in complete relation with the actors, and both together they just tell the minimum we need. So here there is two kinds of light. The light on the singers and the light on the curtain, just to make this curtain alive. It's like if this curtain is part of the set. And here, just the light and the window tell at what time we are today. So this is the question. We don't need set. We need space. And the life of human beings are more or less in the nature or in the architecture. There is no other space where we spend life, and the theater does the same thing. But any space we can choose is not completely organized for theater. I used to choose a quarry to have a play. And then it's interesting because when we see the nature looks natural. When you bring a human being inside of the nature, nothing is natural anymore. The size of the rocks are not good, the color of a tree have to be changed, everything have to be reorganized. And that's what we did. And in the quarry, we changed the place of the tree, we changed the size of the rocks, just to reorganize the whole site. For instance, when we play in this place, we have to reorganize the place to have the right relationship between the play and the nature. So that was a theater, and it was a restaurant. So this is the two possibilities we have. We can play in an existing space, or we build a specific place we can call theater or something else. So this is, for instance, the same place, now reused. And this is Shakespeare. He moved to a place where they were fighting animals, beer, more or less. And then he brings a stage inside of that space, and then it became a theater. Molière used a gymnasium where they do tennis court. So the theater is not a necessary place. So this is very important. Theater is first human being telling something to other human being. All the other things could help, but the basic relation are the human being relation. So the distance, the height, the proportion, all of that help or not. For instance, we have in our eyes a specific place. We have to remember we were animals at the origin. So we have a specific place in our eyes to tell, to be able to see the eyes of the people in front of us. And that stops at 20 meters. So it means after 20 meters, you do not be in relation with the eyes of the actors. 20 meters is 15 rows. So all the theater over that, you can hear with a microphone or speakers or good acoustic, but you lost the relationship you can have with the eyes of the human being. So everything we build around the actors and the public can help or not. For instance, there is 3 persons here. One is higher than the first one. And then you can see they are all the same size. Just the perspective creates the difference of the height. So when you do that on stage, you make the actors higher or smaller. If you play in a corner here, I look smaller. This is a Parthenon. That's a basic rectangular gold number we have, and this, for instance, the sheet of paper is the gold numbers. And this is architecture from Louis Kahn in America, a beautiful site, and then he used a gold rectangular number. Most of the time when I build a theater, I ask the architect to use that proportion for the proscenium arch. Why the horizontal are important? Well, in a theater you have, in a part of the public, all the line horizontal. The seats, the balcony, everything are horizontal. When you are on the beach, walking in the morning, you're alone, you sit. Because you disturb, your verticality disturb all this horizontal line. But at the same time, this horizontal line create peace and are very calm. On the opposite, on the stage, and we have in the city these two things. On the stage we have vertical. The actors, human beings, are vertical, and everything we can build vertical can help the beauty and the presence of the human being. So this is a dancer in a room. And they look higher now because we have moved the ceiling. So that kind of proportion help you to be comfortable in a place or not. The height of the ceiling is important because it's a reference. A human being cannot see the distance in front of them. We need a reference. When you see the clouds, you don't know how high they are because there is no reference until an airplane arrives and go over under the clouds. So the same in the life. And the ceiling is a reference. When the ceiling disappears, because the building is very high, the wall comes closer. So there is this image where you have these three colors, three different forms, and we can see the verticality of the column help the presence of this singer. It's completely different here. Everything are glue, flat. There is no relief. The same with the black. So the volume of the whole thing come back with the different frequency of the colors. But if we do this, for instance, we don't have that. You see how she look different. She look higher here than here. What we call life in architecture. Life is more or less a trace left by the past, or the quality of the texture. When there is a wall paint without any texture, there is no life. It's just dead. For instance, there is a kid here. That's the original image. We don't know what he is doing. Maybe he's blind. Maybe he plays. Maybe he's happy. We don't know. And then we can see on all of this color, we can see him very well on the green. We can see him very well on the red. But there is no relation between him and the colors. And then we have that wall with a trace of the past. And if we glue him on the wall, now we have a tragic image. So this is the theater of Peter Brook when he opened it, something like 45 years ago. It's interesting to have that kind of building because first you have the audience and the artist in the same space. We can come back to that idea. But also the wall can be changed. If we need a window, we make a window. If we need a door, we make a door. If the wall, the theater were restored, it was absolutely not possible. So in that case, the theater became a set. The texture of the paper, if you use the paper just flat, you don't have the same relationship between the face of the actors and what is behind. Life came because the way of the paper take light. The same here. The idea was to have an ice, the idea of the ice for a dance company. And the light in between the paper creates that idea of ice. So this is a church in Avignon. That church is used for a festival. It's open, and we can feel it's not very good for theater because there is this opening and there is no wall behind to bring back energy of the artist. But if we close it, we see, then we create a place dead. So this is another thing we have to think about, the proportions between the audience and the play. If the play is too big with a small audience, the gravity center is not correct, or the opposite. Like opera in Paris, there are 2,700 seats. If you do Mozart or something like that, the size of the room is much too big. There is not a right proportion. And now, because we are in a society vulgar, we don't care. So this is interesting. When the architect asks me what kind of wall do you need, I tell them that if an actor needs to play with a wall, he needs help, the wall can help him to send back the energy in the direction of the audience, but at the same time, at one moment, he wants to be alone with the audience, and the wall has to disappear. So colors are not enough to do that. Just the texture, quality of the wall could help the wall to disappear. For instance, that wall on the back this is a garage. It used to be a theater transformed to the garage. You can see the smoke of the car here. And I transform it again to a theater. So when we do this, we turn off the light behind. The actors are closer to the audience. So this is a modern way to do the same. Now we love projections, we love light, but same idea, and that could work. This is something flat. Huh? It's pent. So this is a French director who did this to create a concentration, eliminate the wall. And this is a ballet we see before with the paper, and that's another way for the wall to disappear. They are the same colors and the whole things, ceiling and the floor. So that's, the festival is about gesture. So this is a traditional gesture of the architect or scenographer. So we have that wood. This is not a set. But when we do this, we have a set. We just move one piece of the whole wood and we have an accent. We give a direction, we give a sense, and that, in that case, for instance, that form could be a form for probably 90% of the play. You can play everything with that. You can be on, you can be in front, you can be around, you can go under, you can, this is a Tempest from Shakespeare, where there's a space for Caliban under. So this is another way. That idea of paper was in Montreal for a dance company. They have no money. So when I arrive in Montreal, I have to imagine something with no money. No money, which is not 1, 0. I call company who make paper. In Canada, it's a country of paper because of the forest. And one company gave me for free 300 meters of paper. I didn't find other material for free, so I have to use paper. The only money we spent was to spray the paper and it doesn't burn. We need security. So with 2 students, we turn over the carpet, the dance floor, on the side of the white. And then we did this, we hang on the Sunday morning all this paper and put light in the between, and it works very well. The interesting thing with that system, if you change a light, you have not an ice, you have a rock. There is a swimming pool here with the water, and they finished the play. No, it was an opera. They finished inside of the water. So this is Greg for Hamlet, and that was a very strong idea with this verticality, with a column. This is also that kind of set where you can do everything. And you see the size, why it probably doesn't do that, because if you see the size of the actors, there is no theater high enough. But it's nice. And this is more or less at the same time, or even earlier. This is Appia and Jacques Dacroze. You see this? This is in 1910, more than 1 century ago. They hang curtain all around the room, and they put 2,000 lights behind to give the idea of the light of outside, which is in 1910 a huge challenge. So the first time there is no arch proscenium. But there is that this idea of a fixed space behind the artist. And this is a modern way to do the same. This is a reconstitution, is a model of the Appia set. Always this idea of verticality. This is a modern way of doing the same thing like Craig. Same. We can develop that idea forever because it always works. And we see that in the Greek temple, and the first with this idea. Egyptian temples are quite different, but there is that idea of helping human being to be inside or outside. And that's what is interesting with that kind of set, with a column. Your eyes are stopped by the column. So by doing that, even one column, you create two spaces, in front or behind. Completely opposite of this, where there is no transparency, so the actors are just stopped. So we come back to that theater of Peter Brook. Now the theater is like this. Used to be like that for Molière, with painting on the wall, with chalk, so it could be clean after. And that kind of paintings here and here, and this light, and this furniture was enough to say, we are in 18th century. We don't need more. That's what's interesting, because the theater doesn't really tell when. That theater for another show was painted in a different color. So in that set, there is that idea from the beginning of the show. We put bamboo on stage. And the bamboo were used for different purposes, like this, for instance. But the theater is huge. It's a national theater in Barcelona, built by a crazy architect. I'm not going to tell him the name, but it's a very, very difficult relationship between the stage. For instance, the wide of the stage is 50 meters. A normal human being is about 1.70 meters. 50 meters. So 50 meters, we can have 25 actors sleeping like this, and then you have size of the stage. Much, much too big. The acoustic is terrible because the voice goes everywhere. So the idea was to find something to help the actor to be closer to the audience. And that idea of bamboo works very well, because at the moment you are here, close to the audience, if you are behind the bamboo, even if there is not a lot of distance, you look with more distance. So the stage doesn't have to be big, very, very small, very wide, but not very deep. But with the bamboo, we create a perspective, and the stage looks much deeper than what it was. That's exactly the opposite. With a wall, with a solid wall to limit the size of the stage. And this is a theater under a church in Dublin, in Ireland. They find the original theater of a city, so 3 or 4 centuries ago. So there is just the wall left, nothing else. And we have this idea to prolong that walls with mirror. And the mirror creates an effect. We think it's a wall, but here there is a platform, and nobody can see. So for Macbeth, the witches can arrive on that platform, and then it's a surprise. So there is an apparition on the back here. This is on a festival in a very, very huge space in Spain, where the limit also are created by a small screen, small wall. So the idea of the column is the same like that kind of curtain, where you have a limit, but another space behind. Same idea. With this line, we create another space behind. This is a small theater in Madrid, and the old theater it was a garage, and then they transformed to theater. The old theater has that color, that aspect, the quality of the wall. So that's another way. The audience are inside of the space. So that's another kind of wall here. And this is not really a wall, but it looked like a limit. This is the Apia Theater today in Dresden, in Germany. So that's, now young people love that kind of things. And there is absolutely no relationship between the artist and the space, but it looked beautiful. I know we use now a lot of video. There is more and more opera. The dance use a video from a long time, but movement, it's not a problem. We make an experiment with some kind of projector where we can have a beautiful image on the wall, and then immediately same image on the floor, and reduce the image just on the actors here. When there is just an image, it's not a problem. But if you project a video here, just 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters, the actor disappears. So that's a big question we have to think about, because we see more and more video, and I try to not use it because the human being spend their life to be in security. This is why we are watching more or less down, where the danger probably could come, but one of the danger for human being is movement. And if I speak with you, little mouse come here, I see it immediately. So that's a problem with the video. If you arrive in a cafe and there is a screen with a TV on, something like that, you immediately watch it. You know, the brain is always tracked by movement. So the problem in the theater is for the actors. At the moment you have somebody or something behind an actor in movement, you lost the action of the actors watching that movement. I remember a very famous actress in France, Madeleine Renaud, when there is a young, new actress who play on stage, she was walking slowly behind. No? So it works in many ways. But with a video, it's a big question. Why not video? But we have to be careful the way we are going to use. I prefer to think about the light because the video doesn't change. Video is a video, it depends on what we put inside. But the light have every day an extraordinary change. The future probably in the theater and probably in our life will be through a development of the light. There is now light on the paper you can glue on the wall. There is a light on the fabrics. So we can have a light everywhere, and we don't need a spot. The actor is light by himself, except the face. Exactly like this. With the light, we can do that without any spot. And this is another way with the LED, that's what we can do. The future of the light is probably extraordinary. This is today, but that look already old. This is also what we can do with the light. So that's interesting because exactly what I said to you with the video. Have you seen that? Watch again. Imagine what you see. Remember what you see immediately when you see the image. And you have see this first. So this poor actress, she's transparent. So the same here, that's opera, it's a Wagner opera, we don't see the artist. But the set design have an extraordinary job and probably a lot of money, but we don't see the artist. Where is the artist? Can you see the artist? There is two. You see them? There is one here.
Oh, yeah, I can.
And one here. That's the opposite. Everything to help the presence of the artist. Even to make them higher, like in the Greek tragedy. This is Bob Wilson. He doesn't like artists. He looks like trees, same thing. And this is a beautiful Roman theater who have disappeared. And you cannot imagine behind that there is a fantastic architecture who are 2,000 years old. But the next is worse. So this is Molière in Versailles. They have a courtyard. They just built the stage and the theater were there. So this is a big theater in Rome, in Italy. Very bad relationship because that part where the audience are very strong, so the presence of the actor on stage were very difficult. So I closed the stage, I covered the seats, and we play in the middle. And that was very good because it was for Carmen, the opera, and she's saying, free I'm born, free I will die. You know, that opera is always, we give importance to this stupid Escamillo, we just see the eyes of the bullfight. But she is free, and she is prisoner of the moralistic of the bourgeoisie. So the prison is the bourgeois, and she is in the middle of the prison. So that was sand. We built these seats just to connect that part to here. And this is a monastery transformed to a garage, and we transform it to theater. So this is same ideas, the idea of the colonne. You know, the colonne are just enough to stop the eyes, to create a space. This is a theater abandoned in New York. So fortunately, its decoration were lost, was used by Mormon for a long, long time. So I transform it. I move the stage up 1 meter, and I connect the stage to the first balcony. The balcony is here. You can see the trace of the balcony here. I cut this part of the balcony by half, and then from 2,000 seats we arrived to 900, and everybody are in relation with the whole theater and also in relation with each other. Before, when the balcony was going down to here, these people on the last row, they see the stage just like this. So we did that for 1 year, where we have 2 plays. We played the first one 6 months and then 4 months. And the time for the restoration of theater came, so the city want to take out the temporary stage, but the whole city protests, and they say, no, the theater is too beautiful. So now they play on the temporary stage for 25 years. And then we paint the wall like the rest of the theater just to create a unity. So we have that idea to bring the audience and the play in same space. This is a theater of Peter Brook. So we see the aesthetic in relation with the stage. This is a dead theater in Tokyo. Then we have to change completely everything. We build new seats, new wall, new ceiling. And we need that kind of proportions. This is a place where they repaired boat in Zurich on the lake, and there is that huge door here to bring the boat inside of the warehouse. So I transform it to Elizabethan theater with wood, and in the morning, because the play were 11 hours from 8 o'clock to 7 in the morning, and in the morning we opened the door because the sun was right in the middle of the door. This is a slaughterhouse where they kill animals. I transform in Madrid as a permanent theater. I keep the wall as they were. We restore the building outside, and we use the wall as a set. This is a set built, the floor, but this is a building. And this is a quarry, beautiful blue quarry in Australia, and I put some ochre on the floor. So we have the white and the red costume, the ochre, and the blue quarry. That's quite beautiful. Same thing. We are in the nature. It doesn't look natural. At the moment we use that part as a set, we have to reorganize it. This is a theater in New York. I built with an architect. That's from Gary. We're part of that. We opened 2 years ago, and this is that kind of Elizabethan theater where there is an audience everywhere around the play. And this is for students in Prague. They have no money. We rent a scaffolding, and I find the boxes in cardboard. So we build theater with a box. And to have a good acoustic, we put fiberglass inside of the box. So the company gives the fiberglass the exact size of the box for free. And the box we give back to the shop, so we don't have to pay for the box. And I have to apologize because some students make a graffiti on the box, of course. And then the man said, no, it's very good because I'm going to sell the box more expensive. So that's inside, before we close the top. And all the students, it was about 5 or 6 plays every day here for 2 weeks. All the students want to have black curtain inside, but when they see the boxes, they love it, like a big Greek stones and in the temple. They keep, nobody want to have a curtain. This is a theater we built a long time ago over the railway station. There is a train here. And then we built a theater here in wood. And that was that kind of space where we can play in the middle, we can play everywhere. This is a set in France, where the set contains the audience and the actor. This is a new place. They do music, but there is a seat here. You can track the seats, and then you can do theater. So now there is that kind of, this is in New York. I don't like very much, no, this is not in New York, in London. That's a young Vic. I don't like very much the round theater, because it's a big question for the actors to play to everybody. So you have to have a specific play to do that, and there is not so many There is a very famous, in Manchester, a very famous theater like this. So yeah, that's another place, that's church.
That's church.
But Protestant. But it's interesting that idea of verticality will create intimacy. And that's something you have to figure out by yourself. Horizontal place look wide, vertical place look intimate. Like this one, it's very small but it looks big because the ceiling is very low. That's in Japan, the National Theatre, the small room of the National Theatre. Okay, that's it. So if you have questions.
For me,
we applaud artists.
You are an artist.
you are an artist,
No,
aren't you? At the moment.
technicians. So if you don't have questions, thank you.
I have this question about the cardboard theatre. The theatre, the cardboard theatre, the boxes theatre you did in Prague.
In Prague, yes.
Yeah. How long was that? Like how was that for a week or
2 weeks,
2 weeks?
2 or 3 weeks. Yeah.
It was a festival or something like
No,
that?
but you can do outside. You put the plastic around, and then you have theater for 2 years, 3 years. Yeah. No, I believe very much about temporary theater. We should, because we spend too much money to build theater and not enough money to do play inside.
Yeah.
You know, most of the theater, it's about 3, 5, 6, 10 million, 60 million. The theater costs 70 million euro, not less. And it's the same thing. We don't need that much money. But we need, for young people, to have the possibility to create something new, small theater, but also there is many countries like in Asia or in Africa where they can build theater on that idea with elements they have for
free.
Yeah. I think we have to desacralize the theater because the theater now are used by politicians as a monument. We don't build church, but we build, so most of the money is for outside. There is too many theater very bad inside, and then especially in Romania. And should try to sit on the back here.
What was your most difficult task that you confronted in your career?
How's the next one?
Excellent.
No, there is no, we should not use the word problem. There is no problem, there is questions. Questions have an answer, always an answer. But if the question is right, it's correct. The problem is, most of the time we ask for something which is impossible. And there is a small stage for a big audience, or the opposite. There is so many crazy things I have seen all around the world. There is a stage in south of France, not in Africa, where the place for the light are here and the sound are here, and they are not watching the stage, they watch the audience. So, you know, so we used to build in 19th, 18th, 17th, 16th century good theater. But today, 2 or 3 theater are not good for one very excellent. So that's a real question. So when the artists are going in the theater, they have to think about that question and then to change the relationship, to extend the stage, to cover, like what I did in Rome, for instance. If you have no set, you spend your money to transform a place, to have a good relation.
So what So what do you think about the black box? It's like an...
No, the black box is a stupidity, complete stupidity. It comes from the light people. So if you need black, you put curtain and that's it. But to paint theater, you see that shitty black is not black, it's gray. There is beautiful black in China, but it must be bright, otherwise it's never black. So I don't believe about black box. And there is a director, a very famous place, was Studio 52 in New York. One day that director asked everybody of the staff, and he said to them, I just come from a conference from Jean-Guy Lecat, and he said, the black is a color. Black is not neutral, black is a color. So he take out everything they put on the wall, and they say now the artists have to deal with the wall as they are. And that's part of the work of a set design. You arrive in a building, you use or you don't use a wall, but the wall have a certain quality. If the theater is painted in black, it's dead without any quality.
So you never walk in a black box? You never walk in a black box?
I know, I paint in different color when they are black. Have you seen one black box on the presentation?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, I think this idea came in the 60s when the lights were developed. And it's ridiculous because as you can see here, when the light go on the black, the light doesn't disappear. The light disappears in the texture when you have a different texture like a curtain. But it's not the black of the curtain who absorbs the light. The no reflection of the light, it's because of the texture. So I believe about texture, not about the color.
But you said something at the beginning about this strong light when they try to have you in light. And you said that you work with Bergman?
No, but it's very. I work with a famous photographer of Bergman. Yes,
okay.
It was a fantastic person who creates that light. But we need to see each other, not to have that. Okay.
You said that the future for the theater is light.
The future is
with light, the light.
I think the future of the theater is to disappear.
Why are you saying that?
You know, when you see, for instance, check on your program and you will see. I have not seen everything, but I'm sure there is no play from Shakespeare. They all plays are about Shakespeare, about Chekhov, about Molière. You know, they want to use an idea because they have no idea otherwise, or they cannot write the text of today. And then they use the past to do something who have nothing to do with this history we have seen yesterday with Chekhov. So it's a pretext to do light, sound, music, projection, things like that. And that's not theater. That's something. I don't know what the name of that, but this is not a theater. Why? Because the human being use 5 senses. I have 6, but that's exceptional. We have the ear and we have the eyes. And the eyes are extraordinarily efficient. You arrive in a railway station and you can see 1,000 faces different immediately. No gymnastic, you don't have to use your imagination. Even if your brain uses a storage place, a huge storage place here, the ear, completely different. When I tell you a story, you use your memory to create images. So that's the challenge for tomorrow. If we lost the ear, we will not have that extraordinary capacity to imagine what the artists are telling. And that's a big difference between the cinema and the theater. When the speech says something, you participate by having images in your brain, and the word tell you something and maybe force you or help you to think about. When you see images, everybody sees the same. So it's a complete different way to develop the future of the theater. The question is, it's much easier to watch than to listen. If you have a radio and a TV, very quickly you watch a TV because it's easier to see than to hear. Because of that necessity to create images. But we lost that fantastic part of imagination. You go back inside of yourself when you are in a theater, and maybe some emotion are very strong because it remembers you something from the past. I remember we did a play about the brain. And that's not a psychiatry, about neurology. So it's just a mechanic problem of the brain. So I'm not going to tell you the whole because it's extraordinary and huge, but there is one man who ignores his left part of the body. So we see that in the hospital and we reproduce the same thing on stage. One day, the doctor asks that man to shave himself. And he take a mirror and he shave and stop exactly in the middle. And he left the beard on the other side. So one day the doctor asked him to do that, and he tell him, but now, today, we are going to film you. So we do that on stage. We have these fantastic Japanese actors, Yoshio Ida, who is sitting in front of a small table. The doctor come and give him a shave, foam, and a mirror. And then they bring a camera and a TV. So the actors shave himself perfectly in the middle. The actors who play the doctor tell Yoshio Ida, now can you watch video? And the video were turned and the audience can see at the same time. Of course, in the video you see his face reverse. So I don't understand. So the actors panic. You watch a mirror, you watch a video, you watch a mirror, and they became nervous. At that moment of the play, the whole audience do the same. We arrive at that intense emotional moment where all the actors are the patient. I don't think we can arrive to that kind of strong sensation with something which is outside of us, which is a screen with a film. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.